And we're back for our PFL Africa predictions here on the channel. The first ever PFL Africa card is this Saturday from Cape Town, South Africa. And the fact that the PFL has made it to Africa before the UFC has, after the UFC has now had 4 African champions and currently still has an African champion. Oh, by the way, South Africa is the home of their current African champ. But anyways, the PFL has made it to Africa before the UFC. They'll likely go to Spain before the UFC does as well. They've already gone to Hawaii. Well, Bellator has. But anyways, we have got our PFL Cape Town predictions here on the channel. 14 fights on this card. The undercard for this Saturday is going to be PFL Africa, technically, with all of the tournament fights for PFL Africa. And the main card is a PFL Challenger Series card, obviously main evented by Johnny Eblen, defending the Bellator Middleweight Championship against Costello and Steenis, which I thought we got rid of the Bellator belts. I don't know. And then you got the Bellator Light Heavyweight Champion, Corey Anderson, taking on the PFL Heavyweight Champion, Denise Goltsov. Co-main event, I don't know if it's for the PFL Women's Flyweight belt. I don't think it is. But Dakota Ditcheva versus Samiko Inaba. So 14 fights on this card. Also, AJ McKee is fighting Ahmed Magomedov. Before we get into the video, folks, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more PFL and UFC content here on the channel. We do these predictions weekly, all along with now also UFC 318 videos posted yesterday, but also throughout the week we will have our best bets for the UFC and potentially the PFL, and as well UFC recaps and potentially PFL recaps after these events are over. Make sure to join us for all of these videos here on the channel here on Greedo Plays MMA. Okay, on to our first fight of 14. Some of these undercard fights are just interesting, kind of to the point where some of them, like this one, I'll be honest, is a very clear winner. And some of these other fights are tough to call because there's not much film out there for these fighters. There's not much to watch for me to watch. So I'm going to try to do my best with this. I think I've got a general idea of pretty much every single fighter on this card. So here we go. I'll be honest, I'm not too tapped into the African regional scene with MMA, but it was like, I was like that with the, PFL MENA regional scene, or the Saudi Arabian regional scene, or I guess the, the Middle East. A couple years ago, I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of PFL MENA and just, Middle Eastern, mixed martial arts, at least on the regional scene. So we'll get there, obviously picking PFL Africa throughout the years, and obviously with PFL Pacific coming up next year. Anyways, first fight, Juliet Ukah taking on Cecilia Niedermayr. You've got Ukah coming out of Nigeria taking on Niedermayr, who is from South Africa. This is not a tournament fight, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, this is the only fight on the undercard that is not a tournament bout. This is at women's strawweight, which is not a featured weight class for PFL Africa. Ukah is a 6-0 fighter here from Nigeria, right? Undefeated, coming off a TKO victory a year ago. For Niedermayr, she's coming off a win 2 months ago. Has fought in Fury FC as well, at least Fury's Challenger Series, where she lost to a 4-4 fighter. Regardless, Niedermayr is now 3-2 professionally from South Africa, and she's 32 years of age. I'm going with the younger fighter in Juliet Ukah. I like Ukah's striking a lot. This is a very good kickboxer, at least for, I would consider, the regional African scene. The biggest promotion, if I'm not mistaken, in Africa is EFC. I could be wrong. I know, again, that's where Rodriguez Duplessis got his start. I believe Cameron Simon fought there as well. And usually, again, that's where I think you see the best talent in Africa. I could be wrong about that. But EFC, it's a South African-based promotion, don't get me wrong, but a lot of talent from Africa obviously fights there, like a Nigerian fighter here in Juliet Ukah. Still training out of Laos, Nigeria. I think she beats Niedermayr here. Ukah's got the better stand-up game, and ultimately that should propel her to victory. I know Cecilia does have grappling credentials and has won fights by submission before, but I think Ukah's the better fighter here, and I look at this fight as a feature bout or a showcase bout that the PFL puts together. I think I know who they want to win. It's going to be the undefeated Juliet Ukah. I'm going with Ukah to win by unanimous decision. Okay, let's go to the first ever PFL Africa tournament fight in the heavyweight division. Abraham Babli takes on Badur Medkouri. If you are familiar with Babli, he has fought before in both the PFL and in Bellator, if I'm not mistaken, definitely in the PFL. This is a 5-2 fighter. Yes, did have one fight in Bellator as well back in 2024. This is a 5-2 fighter who did fight in also the PFL, American tournament. Got to fight Rodrigo Nascimento, lost the fight over there by split decision, so he is entered in both PFL Africa. Obviously, he's been eliminated from the PFL American tournament, but I would assume, and I think, Bob Lee's the first guy to be in 2 different tournaments at the same time. Even though, right, the American one's over for him, but at least that one's still going on. Anyways, Bob Lee lost to Rodrigo Nascimento in a closer fight than many anticipated. A back-and-forth fight in the feet. Nascimento in the big 2025, I'll just be honest, it is not the best. But Bob Lee stuck in there, and now he's getting a fighter who is 8-2 professionally from France, in Bedour Medkouri, who has not fought yet in the PFL, was booked in the Professional Fighters League back in 2024. His opponent withdrew from the fight. Since then, he took on a 25-3-1 fighter who looks like has the most padded record ever, but beat him by second-round knockout. I think Bob Lee wins, okay? From what I've seen out of Bedour, he really only beats up-and-coming guys in UAE, not up-and-coming guys. He beats cans for the most part, or can crushers in his own right. When he's taken on a higher level of competition, which I really don't think he's completely done yet, he loses. Like, anytime there's any step up, he loses. Lost to a 1-2 guy in Aries FC, Xavier Lassou, back in early 2023. Again, Bedour has won 4 straight fights. Again, though, against nobodies. Bob Lee, look at the record. Oh, it's 5-2. His losses are Slim Triblesi, who he lost to back in November of last year, I believe, in Saudi Arabia, and then Rodrigo Nascimento, a guy that he went the distance with, right? Those aren't bad losses. Fought in Bellator before, beat Isaiah Pinson, fought in the PFL prior to his last stint, beating Louis Sutherland, beating Hassan Graham. I like the striking game enough out of Bob Lee. I think he's much better than Bedour here. Are we going to see a finish? I'm going to go yes. No, I'm going to go decision here for Abraham Bob Lee. Surprisingly, Bedour is the favorite. At least more people are picking him, probably just based on frame. You know, Bedour is much bigger than Bob Lee, which is fine. He's 6'4", Bob Lee's 5'10". I am going to go with the underdog then. I'm going to go with the British fighter here. I just look at Abraham Bob Lee and I see, okay, this is a guy who can scrap. I think he should be able to close distance. I don't think Bedour has the crazy knockout power that you think he has. He's been nothing but can so far in his career. Bob Lee's been tested. He's fought good fighters before. I actually think the British fighter is going to win. I'm going Abraham Bob Lee to win this fight by unanimous decision. A lot of Medkouri's fights end in the first round. If it goes past that, I think Bob Lee has an easy advantage, right? We just saw him go to back-to-back decisions against Triblesi and to Nascimento. Now he lost both of those fights, but both those were split decisions that were razor thin, so razor close. I'm going with Abraham Bob Lee to win the fight by decision. We go on to our next fight in the bantamweight division. This is a fight that has been mixed up a little bit. Originally supposed to be Simbrache Hokonya taking on Aline Majorki. Now it's Franz Mlambo. Franz Mlambo is stepping in to take on the Zimbabwean fighter here in Hokonya. I'm going with Franz Mlambo here. This fight just got put together. I mean, hell, on Tapology, they still don't have this updated yet. I like Franz Mlambo to win the fight. Franz Mlambo is a guy that I've been waiting to just show up again, right? This is a guy who fought for the PFL Europe Championship in 2023. He lost to Khusred Khaharov for the championship over in PFL Europe, got knocked out in the second round. He put together back-to-back majority and split decisions prior to that against Rashid Haas and Mokhtar Benkaki. Anyways, he was booked in 2024 once at PFL Europe against Luke Shanks. Fight fell through. Mlambo withdrew. I believe there was an injury involved. Mlambo's been on the sidelines since, again, that championship fight in late 2023. Well, finally, Mlambo is back. And he's going to get a 5-0 fighter here. All fights, by the way, in EFC, in Simbashrey Hokonya. Nothing special from what I've seen. Nothing special. Big decision guy. Hasn't fought anybody that good just yet. Franz Mlambo, trust me, he will find ways to outpoint you. That's just what he does. He's good enough on the feet, and he's good enough on the ground. The way to beat Franz Mlambo is to knock him out. I don't think the Hawk is his nickname out of Zimbabwe has the power to put down Mlambo. He's got one finish in his entire career back in April of 2024. I don't think he's got enough to put Mlambo away. I think Franz Mlambo, who's the much more experienced fighter, and I believe the better fighter, will find a way to grind his way towards a decision. I'm going to go with Franz Mlambo to pick up the victory here, advancing to the second round. Again, this is a South African fighter training at Dublin, Ireland. I believe Mlambo, the Black Mamba, will go out here and beat Hokonya by unanimous decision. Let's move on now to our next fight. Staying in the bantamweight division, we have got Angola's Antero dos Santos, now training out of France, taking on Canada's Karim Henniene. Kind of a tough fight to pick, I think. I look at Angola's Dos Santos, who's 5-0, taking on Canada's Henniene, who's 4-0. My thing with Dos Santos is, again, like a lot of fighters, and this is what's tough for me right now to gauge in PFL Africa, you know, without seeing these fighters fight each other on a stage like this, is just how good they are. Because a lot of these fighters who the PFL has found, they all have good records. They all, you know, are credentialed at least with their, you know, they have wins. You just don't know who they've beaten. Because look at Arturo Dos Santos. Again, this is the problem, and I found this a lot looking at the Middle East with PFL Mania. It was just a lot of these guys, I don't know who they've fought, you know, because they fight like Arturo Dos Santos here. His 2 fights ago, he's fighting an 0-2 guy, and he beat him by first round knockout like you're supposed to, right? So that was my thing with PFL Mania. I was like, all right, unless you fought in UAE Warriors and you fought good fighters in UAE Warriors, I don't know what to make out of you before you fight in PFL. Once you fight in PFL, I can see you fight against another somewhat high-level guy who's been put in that spot. Until then, it is kind of difficult. So again, same thing stands here for PFL Africa. For some of these fighters who haven't fought in EFC yet, which I would consider a fairly high-level promotion for the continent of Africa, who obviously haven't fought in the States, haven't fought in a European promotion either. So that's just what we get here, right? For Antero, right, his biggest victory is over a 7-5 Dimitri Solmies, who has fought in the PFL before, lost to Nathan Kelly, but that was his only fight, Dimitri. Anyways, Dos Santos is 5-0. He has shown a bunch of power, and that, again, you can't teach that, right? Sure, you're going to find guys who are easy to hit, who leave their chin in the air and aren't going to throw much back at you. You can't teach, though, putting guys out. And that's something you can't deny, regardless of the strength of opponent. Now, for Karim Henniene, the Kryptonite training out of Canada, this is a 4-0 fighter who's only won by decision so far. He's fought better competition, I believe, but nothing, you know, strikes me here. This is another kickboxer, doesn't really throw many kicks, more of a boxer, honestly, in Karim, from what I've seen. He's more just of a boxer. And I think in a straight striking battle, I do believe Dos Santos is going to win. I think, I look at just the power discrepancy here, and I do think it favors the machine from Angola a lot, now trading out of France. I believe Arturo Dos Santos is going to win. I think he's going to be able to find the power shots in this fight. And I'm going to go with him by late knockout, second round TKO. Again, I think eventually he's going to find that shot. We've seen it on the regional scene before, right? Again, even if it's against bad opponents, right? Dos Santos has found ways towards knockout. So I think he's going to get one here in the bantamweight division. Again, trying to put on a statement here for the bantamweight division, which is kind of wide open right now in PFL Africa. We're going to keep going through it here for our next fight. But you'll see, again, not a really loaded bantamweight division. Our next fight here, a crapshoot for me. Shannon Van Tonder taking on Abdoullah Godogo. Okay, we've got Shannon Van Tonder, who's 7-2, who is just a jiu-jitsu guy for the most part. If you're able to get this fight on the feet, you will win. And he's taking on a guy in Abdoullah Godogo, who has shown potential to win on the feet so far. I don't know what to make of this, because from what I've seen out of Abdoullah, not bad, but he hasn't beaten anybody, but it's an EFC. But his last fight, he won a technical decision over a 2-4 fighter. Prior to that, he had beaten 2 fighters making their professional mixed martial arts debuts. But I look at Shannon Van Tonder, lost 3 fights ago to a 5-4 guy by TKO, a guy who's now 6-5. So I really think if Beloul's able to keep this fight on the feet, he should be able to win. And I look at what Shannon Van Tonder's done, he hasn't beaten anybody just yet. I don't know. But Beloul hasn't really been tested on the ground just yet at the same time. It's a confusing matchup for me. It really is. Van Tonder, obviously the much more experienced guy, which kind of makes me want to pick him. He's the bigger fighter as well. This is tough for me. Van Tonder is a featherweight going down to 135. My only problem with Godogo is just the lack of experience. But he's coming down from 155. Wow. Hasn't fought, though, in 3 years as well. I gotta go at Shannon Van Tonder to win the fight. Again, he's been more active, fought 6 months ago, is way more experienced. For Godogo, it's really just question marks around this guy. He hasn't fought in 3 years. He's still green, hasn't looked bad in the limited action that he's had, but again, only 3 fights. and I'm interested to see how he deals with a guy who's purely just going to grapple him, try to get him to the mat, and hold on to him. So I'm going to go with the South African fighter here, beating the fighter from the DRC, from the Congo, who's now training out of South Africa. I'm going to go with Shannon Van Tonder to win the fight. If he wins it, I do think it's going to be by sub, just because I think, again, if Van Tonder has the advantage that I think he's going to have on the ground, I do believe the submission is going to follow. So I'm going to go with South Africa's own Shannon Van Tonder to win the fight by second round submission over Belul Godogo. Let's go back to the heavyweight division. Oh boy, do we have a fight for you. The big boys have shown up here. Maxwell Dejantu Nana taking on Mikhail Grug. Oh, I've been waiting for this fight, and I'm not even joking, I actually have. If you don't know who Mikhail Grug is, this is the guy who famously, or I guess infamously now, fought a fight in PFL Europe where I don't know who, was it O'Connell? I think O'Shawn O'Connell, who was on commentary. And Mikhail Grug comes in there, he puts his hands down and walks the center of the cage. And, O'Connell's like, oh, this is just how Grug fights. Or I think it might have been Dan Hardy. This is just how Grug fights, He's going to have his hands down. He's so laxed in there. He's so calm. Islam with the first kick that he throws, a head kick to the face, Mikhail Grug doesn't even block it. He just stands there, looks at it, boom, gets put on his ass and knocked out. Now, Grug surprisingly got another shot in the PFL and won his last fight. We expected him to win because he fought a 5-7 guy. It was really just set up for him to go out there and pick up the victory. And now he's just become kind of a joke within the PFL. He's training out of France, but I do believe he cross-trains a little bit over at Jackson Wink. He's a big guy, but Maxwell Nana is a huge guy as well. This is a 6'2 heavyweight, Grug 6'3, and this is a guy who's coming off a huge knockout finish last year in the PFL in the States by first-round knockout, again, against a 6-1 fighter. Dude's got power. Fought in one championship on the Friday night series that one championship does. This guy's got pop in his shots. Again, you can't deny power, and no matter the opponent, you can't get around the power. And for Mikhail Grug, his best win is against a 5-7 guy. The first opportunity that he had in the PFL was an absolute joke. And again, he is just kind of a joke now, but look at his record. Who has he beaten? Nobody. I think Nana is somewhat legit. This is a guy with very heavy hands. And again, Grug, I'm just going to be honest. Again, it's funny. This guy, he's so fat. He is. He's a big dude. But guys, look at the difference in these two guys, bro. Tell me in a fist fight who's going to win. I'm just going to be honest, okay? It's sometimes, guys, it's that simple. Who do you think's going to win in a fight? I'm going with Maxwell Nana, who is legitimately a specimen, who hits like a truck and isn't fighting this laxed fight. Oh, he's so nonchalant. I swear, Mikhail Grug thought he was in a TikTok edit his first ever PFL fight. Walks center of the octagon. He's like half asleep in there, and boom, he gets head kicked. He's going to get knocked down in the first round. This isn't just because, Grug is going to fight cautious. No. Nana is going to go out here, and he's going to put damage on this dude. He hits harder. He's a better striker. I'm going with Maxwell Dejantu Nana to win the fight by first round knockout over Mikhail Grug. Probably the favorite to win at 265. Probably. I think the winner of Bob Lee and Badur is actually in a really good spot too. Like, even if Bob Lee loses, I do think Badur's in a pretty good spot going forward in the tournament. We'll see. Let's go on to our next fight. We close the bantamweight side of the bracket, at least for today, with PFL Africa. Nkosi Ndebele taking on Mahmoud Atef. Okay, an interesting fight. I'm going to be honest, I don't think the highest level of fight. There's been higher level fights, like the Franz Mlambo fight here at bantamweight. You get a South African fighter here, Nkosi Ndebele, who's coming off a loss in his last fight for the Brave Championship, but that does signify something, right? A lot of these guys haven't made it out of their local African regional scene yet. Nkosi has fought in Brave before. Now, Atef, this is a fighter from Egypt, who has fought in UAE Warriors before, but it has been a mixed bag for Atef and UAE Warriors. He's 3-2 over there. This is a guy who can get knocked out, has good striking, but again, when it gets thrown back at him, not the best. I think Mahmoud's biggest opportunity to win this fight is undoubtedly on the ground. We've seen, Nkosi, he wants to strike. We saw him lose the Brave Championship in his last fight, but again, this is a guy who can go 25 minutes, won back-to-back fights against Jose Torres. It was an accumulation of damage in the first fight that he had with Torres, ended up going the full 5 rounds in the second fight. Actually, their third part of their trilogy. They fought 3 in a row. But I think, again, I think Nkosi is better here. Again, when I meant this isn't the highest level of fight, I just don't know what Mahmoud Atef is going to be. This is a guy who's a 50-50 fighter in UAE Warriors. On the flip side, you got a guy who hits very hard, who does lack a little bit of grappling, but that's not going to hurt him here. Against more all-around fighters, like hell, even a Franz Mlambo, right? And I know I'm speaking very highly of Mlambo here, and I am a little bit concerned with Franz on short notice, but still, against higher-level guys who are more well-rounded, I would concern a little bit for the South African here. But right here, yeah, he should be able to beat Mahmoud Atef fairly easily. I would expect the Egyptian and Atef to try to grapple and try to bring this fight down to the mat, but ultimately, I do think Nkosi Ndebele is going to win this one. I'm going first-round knockout victory. He'll make it look easy in there at PFL Africa. Our next fight is back in the heavyweight division. We have got the Cameroonian. Unfortunately, there's no picture for him other than just a headshot. Abdoullah Kane taking on Mohamed Ben Yahia, training out of Morocco. Interesting here, again, you get the Cameroonian fighter in Kane, who's 3-0, who's, again, beat some all right guys, but again, I just don't know where to put this. Winning an AKO, which is a promotion in Nigeria, won in Cage Africane in Mali. I don't know where to put these guys sometimes. I think Kane is at least a little bit hyped up, like he's been in main events of these regional scene fights that he's had. And for Mohamed Ben Yahia, a weird looking record. I don't think he's ever beaten a guy with a winning record. He hasn't. He's been fighting bare knuckle fights, but a guy who hasn't fought in a mixed martial arts fight since 2020. Hell, his last bare knuckle fight was in the summer of 2021, 4 days shy of 4 years ago. Yeah. Now, I do think Mohamed is going to present somewhat of a challenge on the ground for Kane, who hasn't entirely been tested down there. Well, he picked up a submission win in his last one, but I do think, again, you're going to get a pure grappler here in Mohamed Ben Yahia, who might give him some trouble. But everything I've seen out of Kane kind of screams to me that this guy's going to be solid. This is a 6'5", huge dude. Actually, both these guys train in Morocco, don't they? They do. Kane, from Senegal, not Cameroon. I am so sorry. I don't know why I thought he was from Cameroon. Their flags look the same. They really do. Anyways, the fighter from Senegal in Abdoullah Kane is, again, a freak of nature type guy. 6'5", but a real athletic 6'5", and a real built 6'5", and he's 26 years of age. Again, a guy who's still young in his mixed martial arts career. There is a challenge here with the grappling game, I do think, with Mohamed. However, Mohamed's gonna have some trouble striking with Abdoullah Kane. Because you look at what Mohamed's done in his past, and he's been knocked out 4 times. All 4 of his losses are by KO. This fight is set up 100% undoubtedly for him to lose. Abdoullah Kane is going to win the fight by first round knockout. Again, Mohamed's big in his own right. He's 6'3", but I'm gonna go with the 6'5" fighter here in Abdoullah Kane. Also, the Moroccan in Mohamed Ben Yahia is coming up from 205 pounds. At least that's where he last fought 5 years ago. And it's just, okay, you haven't been active. I don't know what to expect. And honestly, Jerry's still out with Abdoullah Kane, but all things point to, all right, this is the guy the PFL wants to win. Young guy, 6'5", hits like a truck. I'm going Abdoullah Kane by first round knockout. He has shown some grappling too, so I think he should be fine down there for this fight. Let's go on to our final PFL Africa fight before we go on to the Champion Series. I guess it's our featured prelim. I don't know if this order gets reworked. But anyways, Jashel Ticha-Awa taking on Justin Clarke. 2 very unexperienced guys, as we have got Awa, who is 3-1. He is from Cameroon. That's where I got that, I think. No, the Cameroon flag and the Angolan flag, they look, or sorry, the Senegal flag, they look like the same thing. Oh, the colors are switched. The red's in the middle for Cameroon. Anyways, Awa from Cameroon is 3-1 professionally, taking on the South African in Justin Clarke. 2 very unproven guys, but 2 guys who hit hard for the most part. Justin Clarke made his last opponent quit in about 2 minutes, won his first fight in 34 seconds against a 1-8 fighter. For Jashil Ticha-Awa, his one loss comes in UAE Warriors back in 2022. His other 2 wins, he's got 2 wins by TKO, 1 by leg kicks, and then the other was a split decision victory back in 2024. He's legitimately probably best known for his power slap days. Lost a power slap fight by second round knockout, which is not great in October of 2024 on Power Slap 9, main evented by the Crazy Hawaiian and Dumpling. I think that's who that is. Paige Van Zandt was on this card too. Wow. Who actually watches Power Slap? Anyways, luckily this is not a slap fight today between Awa and Clarke, or at least on Saturday. It's mixed martial arts. I don't know what to make of Justin Clarke. The two fights, he literally just steamrolls these guys. They're in EFC, which, again, EFC is the best promotion in Africa, I believe, but they're like Titan FC in America. They make fights to get guys over, obviously. Like, why is this dude Justin Clarke fighting a 1-8 fighter? Again, they have a lot of guys in EFC, and they have kind of a loaded roster. At least that's where, a lot of fighters in South Africa want to fight, and they usually, to my knowledge, if you're a fighter, you can probably get on these cards. I mean, hell, again, Justin Clarke's first fight's over a 1-8 guy. I am going to side with Awa, though, ever so slightly. Fought experienced guys, fought better guys, and I believe this guy is pretty close to 265, if I'm not mistaken. Justin Clarke's like a 240-ish heavyweight. I think Awa's going to be trending more towards the 250s. I'm going to take the bigger guy who hits harder, especially just in a pure striking battle with two guys who kind of just swing and pray a little bit. Clarke's, yeah, kind of though. I'm going to go Awa here again. Expect someone to get knocked out really quickly. I believe it's going to be Clarke getting knocked out. I'm going with the Cameroonian fighter now training out of Nigeria, Jashiel Tisha Awa, to win the fight against Justin Clarke by first round knockout. Okay, let's go to the PFL Champion Series portion of the card now. On to the main card, kicking things off with Corey Anderson versus Denis Goltsov. Great fight. Really great fight to open up the main card. You have got the Bellator light heavyweight champion in Corey Anderson taking on the PFL reigning season heavyweight champion in Denis Goltsov. I mean, it doesn't really get better than this fight. This is a sneaky good one on this card. You might look at, Dakota Ditcheva's on the card. Johnny Eblen's finally fighting Costello Van Steenis. This is a fun one. This is a great fight. Corey Anderson moving up to 265 pounds for the first time. Originally supposed to take on Vadim Nemkov in January. That got changed to Vadim Nemkov versus Tim Johnson because Anderson pulled out. Don't forget, Corey Anderson is the reigning Bellator light heavyweight champion. I guess that's just gone now, though. Corey Anderson finally sniffs gold for the first time in his career, and then they vacate the belt and they get rid of Bellator. Sucks, man. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna still call him the light heavyweight champ or not, because I thought all the Bellator titles were dead. But then they said, we need a main event. So okay, Johnny Eblen, you got the belt again. Okay, you're the champ against Van Steenis. I actually don't like the fight for Corey Anderson. How does Corey Anderson beat Denis Goltsov? Is he going to outmuscle him is he going to outcontrol him on the ground? I don't think. Honestly, Goltsov's big for the weight class. I don't care how much Anderson's bulking here. You're going to have to take on a guy who arguably is the greatest PFL heavyweight ever. I know he's always been, he always fell just short in the playoffs, but ultimately he finally won the belt in the last season, beating Oleg Popov by submission in the first round. Goltsov's tough on the mat, man. Goltsov's only losses are by knockout. Henan Ferreira knocked him out. Ante Dilia knocked him out. Eli Asayev knocked him out back in 2019. Those are his only losses in PFL. And prior to that, a loss in 2017. Who cares about that? And that was by knockout too. Do you really think Corey Anderson's knocking out Denis Goltsov? No. How does Corey Anderson want to win fights? Sure, he does have his knockouts, like the Ryan Bader fight, but I highly doubt Corey Anderson here is just going to throw a right and overhand and put down Denis Goltsov. I'll be damned if he does, but I really just don't anticipate that happening. So how does Corey Anderson beat Denis Goltsov? Well, he's going to have to take him down. I don't think Corey Anderson's out controlling this guy on the mat. Goltsov's got good enough sambo and pretty good, again, all-around grappling that should just be able to overwhelm Corey Anderson here. Goltsov wins fights because of his sambo, because of the ground. He won the PFL championship against Oleg Popov because he was able to get that submission. He gets Tim Johnson down in one of the easiest playoff fights to ever predict, takes him down, boom, ground and pound fight over. Same thing in the Thiago Santos fight. I've seen Denis Goltsov versus light heavyweights before, and it has not gone well. Again, Thiago Santos is the biggest example of that, and I understand Corey Anderson in 2025 is better than Thiago Santos was in 2024. However, he's outmatched, I believe, because he's outsized in this fight. I'm going Denis Goltsov. I don't understand the move for Corey Anderson up to 265 pounds. Maybe he just didn't want to make 205 anymore, but I really think the Russian wins this one. I'm going Denis Goltsov, and I'm going with him to win the fight by second round TKO. I think it's going to be eventually No, I'm going first round TKO for Denis Goltsov late in the first round. I think, again, once Corey Anderson is not able to get that takedown, he is screwed. On the feet, it's not like Goltsov's a way better striker than him, though, but I think Goltsov's going to get the fight down, and I just don't see how Corey Anderson's going to be able to get back up. I legitimately think Corey Anderson's just going to get swarmed in this fight because of how much better Goltsov is. Goltsov is, to an extent, kind of a 265 version of Corey Anderson. Not entirely, but kind of, in the way that he tries to go out there and get finishes. Yeah, I think Denis Goltsov does everything better than Corey Anderson does at 265. I think it's a pretty easy play here for Denis Goltsov to win the fight by first round TKO. Again, I don't know why Anderson's going up. Let's move on now to our next fight on the main card. It is a matchup here between, I don't know how this one got on the main card, but it's fine. Makashirep Zaynukov taking on Takeshi Uzumi. I don't know how Izumi got this spot. I'll be honest, this fight is kind of easy to pick for me. I'm going Zaynukov by decision. I don't know how Izumi got here. The fighter, Makashirep Zaynukov, fighting out of Makhachkala, Russia, is 16-4 professionally. Won his first fight in the PFL over Dedrick Sanders, winning the fight by unanimous decision as expected. Again, this is a guy training out of Makhachkala who is going to just, grind you out. This is a guy who is good enough on the feet and obviously good enough on the ground to the point where he should just be able to grind out a decision here against Izumi. I really don't have much to say about this fight because I don't know why it's up here. You look at the Zaynukov fight against Dedrick Sanders. It's a good win. He does what he needs to do. Had a grappling bout on Karate Combat against Arman Tsarukyan. Did not obviously win that. The Izumi signing's kind of odd to me. He beat Spike Carlisle, but a win over Spike Carlisle in 2025 doesn't mean much to me. Carlisle has been a loser in 4 of his last 5 fights. I think Carlisle should have stayed in the States. I think he should have stayed in Bellator. They could have built him up like they did with Kai Kamaka. Izumi, he's a 6-3 fighter, coming off a win over Spike Carlisle and Ryzen, fought in deep as well. Believe had about a 5-2 over in deep, but again, a 6-3 fighter as a whole. A guy who's never gotten a finish in his MMA career. All 6 of his wins are by decision. I don't think he's able to outpoint Zaynukov, and that's ultimately what this comes down to. Because likely in a fight where we're going to see the scorecards, I would not expect Izumi to get the better of a guy who is going to go out here, going to grind you out, and going to find a way to win on the cards. So I'm going to go with Makashirep Zaynukov to beat Takeshi Izumi in this one. I just don't know why this fight's here, I'll be honest. Give me Zaynukov by unanimous decision. Moving on now to our featured bout of the night. It's a matchup here, and a good one, in the featherweight division. AJ McKee takes on Ahmed Magomedov. Am I the only one that's getting the feeling that AJ McKee is just kind of waiting to get the call from the UFC, and he's just kind of waiting for the PFL contract to be over? Because this was Mr. Bellator, right? He was the guy in Bellator. I would still argue that potentially the biggest moment in Bellator history. I understand this was past the Bellator heydays when they were at their peak, but legitimately, it's probably the most hyped I ever was for Bellator was Patricio Pitbull versus AJ McKee in the Forum, July 31st, 2021. AJ McKee basically knocks out Patricio Pitbull on the feet and gets him in a guillotine all within 2 minutes and wins the fight by submission. His stock was at an all-time high when he beat Patricio Pitbull. And they did the rematch and he lost. And he thought he won, which he did not. Never got the rematch for the belt. Ultimately, in his last fight, lost to Paul Hughes. Close fight. Ruled a split decision. I thought Hughes won. Imagine though if AJ McKee got off that Bellator contract after he was 18-0 and beat Pitbull. I'm so serious. 2022, the featherweight champion at the time was Alexander Volkanovski. The UFC would have given AJ McKee an immediate title shot, I think, if he signed with the promotion. Look how they treated Michael Chandler. Instead, McKee, the stock's still high, but it's not that high now that he lost to Paul Hughes, right? Even if the only loss was Patricio Pitbull, the stock would still be relatively high. The Hughes fight does stunt him a little bit because here's the thing. AJ McKee is now just, and he went up to 155, obviously, right? But he's taken a back seat to Paul Hughes in the PFL. He just has, right? Paul Hughes is their big star at 155 pounds, not named Usman Nurmagomedov. And sure, McKee, if he wins this fight against Ahmed Magomedov and wins one more, he's probably next in line for a title shot. However, Archie Colgan is about to fight Usman Nurmagomedov for the belt, where I can assume Paul Hughes will get to fight the winner. Or maybe they'll keep Paul Hughes busy and give him another fight. Anyways, AJ McKee Jr. here gets Ahmed Magomedov. It is a fight that I do expect AJ McKee to go out there and win. Ahmed Magomedov lost to Henry Corrales. That's all you really need to know. He lost Henry Corrales at 36 years of age. Magomedov is coming off a rear naked choke victory over Nathan Kelly. I believe, though, AJ McKee should be able to win this one. I like AJ McKee deep into the fight. I do. As this fight goes on, I think AJ McKee's only going to get better. And I do think AJ McKee has a sizable advantage on the feet. AJ McKee is one of these guys who he can get it done on the ground, can get it done on the feet. We've seen the submissions before. We saw that, that neck crank from the bottom against Darian Caldwell. We've seen the knockout power, at least, the power to wobble and basically put out on his feet Patricio Pitbull. We saw the armbar finish last year in Saudi Arabia against Clay Collard. McKee is able to adapt his fight and adapt his style to whatever he is facing. And in this fight, he should be able to win a stand-up fight against Ahmed Magomedov. When Magomedov, who again is from Dagestan, tries to take him down, I believe AJ McKee is going to see a lot of success stuffing those takedowns and keeping it on the feet. Another thing, I think Magomedov is going to really struggle in striking range. AJ McKee's got 6 inches of reach on him. 74-inch reach for AJ McKee, 68-inch reach for Ahmed Magomedov. Magomedov is a stocky and short guy for 145 pounds. He's only 5'8". That really favors AJ McKee again, who has now gone back down to 145 pounds, which ultimately I think is the right decision for him. I don't know the entire reason why I went up to 155. I think it was weight cutting, but it still never made sense to me because the trilogy bout with Pitbull was there and they never went back to it. So I think it's the right move for AJ McKee. Again, I just don't know if he's going to come back up to 155 ever because he has been fighting there for a while, right? Since that Pitbull loss. That's why, again, I was like, I don't know if he will fight Usman. But 145, again, that works as well. There is a potential fight with Godzilla Badanov that he could have. I don't think AJ McKee beats Godzilla Badanov. But again, I think McKee just needs to keep having these type of fights until eventually he will get that call from the UFC. He's 30 though, but I mean, if he enters the UFC at 31 or 32, he'll be fine. I'm going AJ McKee Jr. here to beat Ahmed Magomedov by decision. The main thing for McKee here is don't screw up your stock right now. All right? Your only losses are Paul Hughes and Patricio Pitbull. Okay? AJ McKee by decision. Let's move on to our co-main event in the evening. I don't know why this is happening, but here it is. Dakota Ditcheva versus Sumiko Inaba. Okay. Sumiko Inaba, who I like. I think Sumiko Inaba is, for what she is, which is a undercard type of fighter who shouldn't be fighting top 15 fights. Yes, even in PFL/Bellator. She's fun. She can strike. She's got relative power when she's fighting cans. And I kid you not, I think I've watched every Sumiko Inaba fight ever. I'm not joking. I think I have. She's not good enough to beat Dakota Ditcheva. It's a shame. It shouldn't happen. I seriously, this is... I don't want to get to the point where I'm getting extreme and saying, oh, this is malpractice by the organization, by the promotion, but it's just why? This isn't a fair fight. But at the same time, Dakota Ditcheva last year fought Chelsea Hackett, so, it's okay. Dakota Ditcheva will fight Inaba, though, in Inaba's pace and Inaba's style. She'll kickbox with her. Saw Denise Kielholtz beat Sumiko Inaba. And again, stylistically, a little bit different. Ditcheva, again, is not a... Well, I guess, no, she has more power, definitely, than Kielholtz. At least that's just what Kielholtz was billed at the time. Same type of build, I believe, on both. I believe Inaba's 5'4", never mind. I don't know why I thought Inaba was taller. I guess because she usually fights smaller fighters, like Denise Kielholtz, not that tall. I remember the Randy Field fight. Randy Field, shorter fighter. I believe Mackenzie Stiller was a little bit shorter, too. Yeah, she was 5'1". Yeah, Dakota Ditcheva is a real problem at 125. This is the best flyweight on the planet, and I firmly believe that. I think she would beat Valentina Shevchenko. The Natalia Silva fight for me is competitive and close, and I'd go either way with that. I still think I'd go Ditcheva. This is the one fighter that the PFL has that you can legitimately make the case, though, she is the best fighter on the planet at her weight class. Undoubtedly to me. Yes, Valentina's great. Old Valentina's not beating Dakota Ditcheva. We just need Dakota Ditcheva to get off this contract as soon as physically possible. Ditcheva's undefeated. She's 14-0, reigning PFL Europe champion, reigning PFL champion, won it in back-to-back seasons, and none of her fights in the PFL have gone to the scorecards, and rarely they get out the first round. The fight against Tyler Santos, I believe, was her first ever PFL fight. No, she had one where it went past the second, but yeah, rarely they get out the first. And it just shows you how much better Dakota Ditcheva is than every other fighter at 125 in the PFL. You look at the tournament they're having right now, in the PFL, American Championship Series. Okay, Jenna Bishop's in the finals. And she's taking on Liz Carmouche. Again, Liz Carmouche is going to win that fight. So, Liz Carmouche, Dakota Ditcheva is likely the fight that will happen by the end of the year. Dakota Ditcheva knocks out Liz Carmouche in the first 2 minutes. And I don't even, guys, I don't think this fight goes over 60 seconds. If Ditcheva fights the fight, she wants to go out here and get it done quickly, it's going to be there for her. All she needs to do is blitz Inaba. Inaba does not do a good job on her back foot. And that's where Denise Kielholtz found a lot of success. You back her up. She's good on the front foot. That jab that Inaba throws, she throws some nice kicks. I get that. On her back foot, she's not good. And this is by far the toughest fighter she's ever fought. Smiko Inaba fought a very competitive fight and took Soraya Roscoe to a split decision. What's Dakota Ditcheva gonna do? Come on now. Dakota Ditcheva first round knockout. 99% of voters on Tapology are going with Ditcheva. 1% of voters are going with Smiko Inaba. Ditcheva completely melts her, guys, and it's not even a close fight. Ditcheva first round knockout. She blitzes Inaba. It's not even like, Dakota's gonna have to take her down because Smiko Inaba's a kickboxer. No, it doesn't matter. Inaba doesn't have the power to put her away. All right, she doesn't. She hasn't gotten a knockout finish since 2022, at least on the feet. Ditcheva has power for 125 pounds. She can grapple as well. Again, that is the best women's flyweight on the planet, Dakota Ditcheva. And the PFL needs to market her as the best flyweight on the planet. She wants to fight more. She wants to be active. And you're giving her 1 to 2 fights a year. We need her off that contract so she can win the women's flyweight championship in the UFC. Tell me you don't want to see her fight Natalia Silva, who is going to beat Valentina Shevchenko at the end of the year, okay? Ditcheva, Silva, International Fight Week 2026. Let's make it happen. Co-main event to, I don't know. Is there a National Fight Week going to be at the White House this year? Or how are they going to do that? They're going to have International Fight Week 1 week from the White House after. That's fine. They're in back-to-back pay-per-views next year. They probably have to. Dakota Ditcheva, Natalia Silva, co-main event International Fight Week under, I don't know, Imavov versus Duplessis, okay? Dakota Ditcheva will be the UFC's women's flyweight championship by the end of 2026. I sure hope she can, okay? Just got to get off this contract. Anyways, main event time. Johnny Eblen, Costello, Steenis. Not the toughest fight to pick. I think Johnny Eblen wins this one pretty handedly. It's an interesting fight because Steenis has good wrestling and has good grappling. Johnny Eblen's just too much, though. I think this is a levels fight for me. It is. We haven't seen Johnny Eblen, though, against a really good grappler in a minute. That is fair, right? His last 3 fights have been Fabian Edwards, Impa Kasanganay, and Fabian Edwards. Arguably, he lost to Impa. But I do think the type of fighter that is going to beat Johnny Eblen is just Impa Kasanganay, really. But just, I love Impa. But a better version of Impa. A guy who can crack Johnny Eblen on the feet and just has better takedown defense. Again, I thought Impa should have won that fight. But that's the type of guy that will beat Johnny Eblen. Costello Steenis is not going to hurt Johnny Eblen on the feet. He's not going to. Johnny Eblen will be more than fine on the feet. I'm not telling you he's going to melt Costello Steenis on the feet. But no, Steenis, he's coming off a knockout finish, late 2024, head kick over Joao Donatas. That's all smoke and mirrors, okay? That's great. He's not going to land that against Johnny Eblen. I don't think so. I hate to say this fight is all the makings of being really boring. Because what this is going to turn into is Johnny Eblen getting takedowns. Johnny Eblen on top control. And he's really not going to take too many chances, A, advancing positioning, and B, going for finishes. Because, okay, there is a threat from Costello Steenis. This is a guy who's really good jiu-jitsu. There is always a threat. On the feet, too, I don't think Eblen's going to take too many chances either. Because, well, that's the only way you can lose, is if Steenis does land that crazy knockout like he did in his last fight in the PFL. Again, not to say Johnny Eblen is, I think Eblen's going to be fine on the feet. But I don't think Steenis has that all-around striking game that, he can just go in here and melt Johnny Eblen on the feet for 25 minutes. At the same time, he's going to be able to stuff the takedowns from Eblen, who is going to be in his face. The nickname is Pressure, but he's going to be pressure fighting Steenis the entire fight. Eblen's going to make Steenis back up, and I just don't think it's going to go well for Costello. I don't think so. Again, very credentialed grappler. Has a Von Flue choke that he got over Gregory Babinet back in Bellator a couple years ago. Actually, only last year at this point. Again, credentialed guy, don't get me wrong. But everything points to a Johnny Eblen victory here. This Costello Steenis is not the guy to beat Johnny Eblen. Honestly, I don't know who is at middleweight in Bellator right now. I don't know if that guy's on the roster. And again, is Johnny Eblen's future in the UFC? I do believe so, and it has to happen really soon. Eblen's undefeated, he's 16-0. The guy to beat him is not Steenis. Because here's the thing, guys. Steenis is not taking Johnny Eblen down. Not many guys try to. It's very rare that someone tries to take down Johnny Eblen. I don't think Johnny Eblen's getting out-wrestled by Costello Steenis. On the feet, I think Steenis' legitimate best chances to knock out Eblen. But the thing is, okay, he's not going to straight up just out-kickbox him for 25 minutes. Because if he tries to, and he is winning, which I don't think Steenis would, just win a straight kickboxing fight. I think Eblen, with the threat of the takedown, would probably still be able to win. But even if he is, Eblen's just going to take him down. And on the ground, I don't think Steenis has got good grappling. Okay, I don't think he's got that good at grappling to the point where he can throw up a submission off his back and submit Johnny Eblen. Steenis to win this fight on the ground needs to be on top. I don't see it. You know? Steenis' striking has gotten better, don't get me wrong. It's gotten much better. I mean, he finished Mike Shipman. I guess that was a while ago now. But this is still a guy who wants to grapple for the most part. Power is getting there, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's got a good enough striking game to just go out there and straight up beat Johnny Eblen, because Eblen's striking, I guess, is a little underrated. Yes, Impo is cracking him some, but Eblen's good enough on the feet. If you want to compare, I mean, hell, okay, like, I don't think the highest of Fabian Edwards, but Johnny Eblen was fine on the feet against Edwards until the point where he could find a takedown and take Edwards down, and he's beat Edwards now twice. I think Johnny Eblen easily wins this fight by unanimous decision. He is a massive favorite in this one. Johnny Eblen is around a minus 400 favorite, I would believe. Maybe more. Again, the odds aren't out right now. That's why they haven't been on the graphics for any fight. But I do believe Johnny Eblen easily takes this fight against Costello Steenis. I'm going Johnny Eblen with the pace, with the pressure, with the wrestling to win this fight. Eblen gets it done by unanimous decision, remaining undefeated, going to 17-0 by defending the Bellator middleweight championship. I guess still Bellator. Anyways, folks, thank y'all for watching our PFL Africa predictions here on the channel. The first ever PFL Africa card from Cape Town, South Africa. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure you leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back for the PFL, their next card, in 2 weeks in Atlantic City, New Jersey for the first finals card of the year. And we'll be back for the UFC throughout the week for the best bets and with next week's card from Abu Dhabi. Robert Whitaker, Rainer, De Ritter. So make sure to join us for those, folks. Thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. And Mamba forever.